Yo, what's up everybody? Welcome to the ultimate Gekishin Squadra guide from a rank 1 player's perspective. If you missed the beta, don't worry because I'm breaking down everything you need to know to dominate the network test like you've been playing since day 1. I'm talking about everything from the basics to the advanced techniques, hidden tips and tricks, and how to win consistently. Whether you're new or aiming for the top ranks, this is not just a casual overview. This is a complete breakdown built from hundreds of matches at the highest level, so if you're ready to climb, ready to win, and ready to go even further beyond, smash that like button and sub down below if you're serious about getting better, and with that, let's dive right in. This section we'll be going over the basic HUD layout, everything you need to understand from what's going on the screen at all times. First up, let's take a look at the top left corner. That is your map, and it's constantly updating throughout the match. It shows crucial info, like where you can farm minions for XP, which is these yellow dots you see here, the HP of your towers, which is right here, your Zeno's level and active duration, which you can see as our Zeno's coming in right here. This is him at max duration, and he has max XP. And you can also see the position of your allies and enemies, even if your enemies are dead, which we see right here. The Trunks is dead right there, the Gohan is dead right here. We see our allies alongside us. Those are all the kind of information you can see from just your map. Now, just below the map, you'll see health bars and levels for both your teams, helping you keep track of who's strong and who's low. On the top right, you've got your tab menu and in-game settings, standard stuff, but worth knowing. Moving to the bottom left, you'll find your divine cards. We'll go deeper into those later, but just know they're a huge part of your loadout. The bottom center of your screen is where your abilities and cooldowns live, including your dash, transformation requirements, and ultimate styles mechanics. This right here is your camera toggle. This is whether you're going to have a locked or unlocked camera. I highly recommend getting comfortable with an unlocked camera early on because it gives you way better map awareness. That said, if you decide to go locked because it feels more natural to you starting out, it's not a deal breaker. Lastly, the communication tools are located on this side of the screen right here. This will include your pings, your emotes, and your team signals. Whether you're calling plays or just getting under the enemy skin, there's a handy way to stay coordinated without voice chat. Now that you understand the HUD, let's talk about what you'll be doing once the match actually begins, starting with the lane phase. The goal here is simple. You want to farm more minions than your opponents to gain an XP lead, which powers up your abilities, gives you an edge in fights, but it's not just about clearing the minions in front of you. It's also about invading the enemy side of the lane and taking their minions, which is a major part of maintaining pressure and control because it takes away XP from them that they otherwise would get for free. As you guys see here, we were very slow in our clear, and we ended up clearing slower than the enemy team, so we weren't able to actually go and steal their minions, so we're all on an equal footing here. However, if we had cleared faster, taken their minions than ours, in this situation, we would probably be a level higher than them, and it would be a much easier fight for us to win. But that's just something we messed up in this specific match. The most important minion you'll see during this phase is Supreme Kai, who will spawn at the top if you're in top lane, and at the bottom if you're in bottom lane. This is basically a super minion. It gives you significantly more XP than anything else, and missing this can lose you the lane, so make sure it is a top priority. We can take a look at the XP it gives right here. As we are winning this fight, you can see that once we do kill the Supreme Kai, this is our current XP bar, and once we kill the Supreme Kai, getting the bonus XP, which again, you do get bonus XP when you actually kill the minion with the last hit. You can see the difference in XP from the Supreme Kai to the other minions here as we're clearing them as well. The Supreme Kai is giving you essentially 4 times the XP, so you definitely want to make sure that you're staying up to date on that and not giving it to the enemy for free. You always want to be fighting for that. Now, if you find yourself falling behind, maybe the other team secured more Kais or got early picks, don't panic. The game has a comeback mechanic that spawns extra creeps on your side of the map in safe zones, allowing you to catch up on XP without risking another death, so you want to use this to your advantage to stay in the game. We can take a look at that here later on in this match. As the enemy team did fall behind, you see these monsters that are spawning on the back extra. We do not have them on our side of the map. These are the extra little bits of XP that the enemy team is getting because we're ahead on XP, so if they go and kill these, it'll kind of equal out that XP gap that has developed. You can also rotate to assist other lanes during this phase, but unless your team is coordinating a strategy, it's usually best to clear your God of Destruction first, as it clears out this section, making it a lot easier to rotate. However, I would say the exception to this is if you're trying to run a speedrun comp where you're trying to take down the gods as fast as possible, then you probably have 4 people rushing down one lane, in which case you'll be sacrificing lane XP for map control, which it's a risky trade, but if you pull it off well, it has a very big payoff. Since we've already touched on the gods of destruction and Zeno, let's dive deeper into how they work and why they're such a critical part of the game. Think of your god of destruction as a turret which defends your lane by attacking enemies who get too close, but it's more than just a wall. When you stand within its range, it also provides you passive healing over time, helping you recover and hold lane. Here's the catch though. Your god can't heal and attack at the same time, so if an enemy dives you under your god to secure a kill, the god will switch to attack mode, targeting the enemy, but will stop healing you. This makes turret dodge risky, but sometimes very rewarding depending on the timing and the HP that you're trying to dive the target at. To deal with this, you can use a Zeno mechanic, which activates multiple times throughout the match. Zeno starts at your base and move towards the nearest god in the top or bottom lane. You'll be able to tell which lane he's going to based on where he spawns, and temporarily disables the god under destruction, making it vulnerable to pushes and ganks. The duration of this disable depends on Zeno's level, which ranges from 1 to 3, and you guessed it, this level goes up based on you farming minions and gaining XP. Once again, stressing that the XP lead is the most important thing. Zeno can receive additional buffs based on the objectives you record, but we'll talk about that in the next section. Mastering Zeno is the key to high-level play, using him to neutralize enemy gods, create opportunities for dives, and pushing safely while your own gods stay active. One final tip with Zeno too is that he will attack the dragon shell, but he won't claim the dragon. That part still requires your direct interaction, so don't just leave him to finish the job. Control Zeno, protect your gods, and pressure your enemies when they can't do the same. That's how you start turning the map in your favor. Now let's break down the map objectives. These are the key to swinging the game in your favor. The main objectives are Android 16, Ribriana, Nappa, and Jaco. They could change throughout the test, but we don't know about that yet. If they do, make sure to drop by the stream because we will keep you updated. Each of them spawns in set locations along the top and bottom lanes, that location being here and here. And these guys are absolutely crucial to winning the game. They're not just side quests. These guys will give you a massive chunk of XP to boost your lead, significant damage that will be done to the enemy god destruction, and a buff to your Zeno, unlocking extra effects when you're pushing towers in his radius. For example, if your Zeno is active and you've secured one of these objectives, you might get a damage boost, making it not only easier to take down towers, but also easier to win teamfights since you're doing a lot more damage to the enemy team. Because of how impactful these buffs are, you and your team need to plan ahead, decide whether you're going to contest, secure uncontested, or trade the objective for pressure elsewhere. But here's the deal. If you give up every single one of these objectives without a fight, the enemy will absolutely steamroll you. You'll be behind on XP, you're going to be behind on map control, and you're going to be behind on teamfight power. So make sure you know what you're doing before you go into these contestations. A bonus tip, there is another objective that won't appear in this network test, which is an ape. He's currently being reworked, but once he returns, you can bet I'll drop a full breakdown to help you handle that giant monkey and take him down to win the game. So watch your map, coordinate your team, and never let an objective go uncontested unless it's part of a bigger trade. These fights define the mid game, and if you master them, you're going to be easily winning in the late game. That pretty much wraps up everything you need to know to dominate a match in Gekishin Squadra, except for one final mechanic, which is how to get a draw. But I'll leave that one for you guys to discover because we got to keep a little mystery in the game. That one is pretty rare to get, so I want you guys to get that for yourself. Because my first time getting it, I was also very excited, so I want you guys to feel that same excitement. Now let's talk about characters. If you're new to the game or just jumping in during the network test, I highly recommend picking one character from each of the 3 roles, offense, defense, and technical. Unless you've got a dedicated squad that you can just lock into one role every game, you'll want to be flexible. Your goal at first shouldn't be to master a specific character, it should be to get comfortable with the game's mechanics, such as the movement, the objectives, Zeno control, lane pressure, and team coordination. Once that starts to click, that's when it's time to dive into character-specific tech. And when you're ready for that, I've got you covered. Check out my character breakdowns for every fighter currently on the roster to help you find the right fit for your playstyle. Now let's talk about what your job is in each of the 3 different roles. If you're offense, your job is to kill the enemy's offense and technical characters and make sure that their defense is left alone by himself and is the last man standing that you have to take down. As defense, your job is to create space for your team so that your team is able to push up safely and take down the enemy team without having too much retaliation in the way. If you're not creating space for your team as a defense, you have failed and you're not providing what your team needs to succeed, and it is your fault if you lose the match. Technical is the hardest role to explain because technical really depends on what character you are playing. If you're playing somebody like Boo, your job is to just kind of heal, be disruptive, and kind of keep your team alive. However, if you're playing somebody like Krillin on technical, your job is to do as much damage as you can while being disruptive with his smoke. So it really depends on what character you're playing for technical, but in general, your job is to be annoying and be disruptive while providing either damage or utility, such as defense downs or just doing more damage like Krillin does. If you're looking for beginner-friendly picks, here are my personal recommendations. Offense, I recommend Goku. He's a straightforward, reliable damage dealer who's very forgiving. For defense, I'd recommend Zamasu. He has great survivability and solid team utility. And for technical, I'd recommend Boo because he's easy to use. He is a fun kind of kid. He's kind of brain dead, to be honest. He's kind of just is what he is. You heal, and you heal, and you heal. That's it. He's currently the only healer that is in the test, so it's very hard to make him look bad because there's nothing to compare it to. These characters make the early learning curve much smoother and help you focus on learning the game and not fighting the controls. So pick your starter trio, grind those matches, and when you're ready to level up your gameplay, you know where to find the high level tech. Now let's talk about Divine Cards, one of the most impactful systems in Gekishin Squadra. Divine Cards are game-changing upgrades that let you customize your character to match your playstyle or what your team needs. These cards can completely shift how a character performs, offering benefits like massive burst or sustained damage, improved tankiness or anti-tank tools, faster objective clears, or even just mobility or escape options to make it ultra slippery build. Yes, I'm looking at you, boommates. Whether you want to hit harder, survive longer, or just become more annoying to deal with, there's a Divine Card loadout for pretty much everything. That said, we won't be going deeper into the specifics of Divine Cards in this video, because a lot of them might have changed since the beta and now going into the network test. However, I will be having a 24-hour stream when the network test drops, breaking down everything live as it happens, including Divine Cards, which again are meta-defining or just straight up broken. Make sure to drop by, ask your questions, and get the early scoop before the full Divine Card tier list video drops later this week. To wrap things up, let's dive into the two exciting new mechanics being introduced in this network test, which is Divine Draw and Gekishin Burst. Divine Draw is a fresh twist on matches that keeps every game unpredictable and dynamic. We're not 100% sure whether Divine Draw happens before character selection or at the start of the match, so here's how it would work in both cases. If it occurs at the start of the match, Divine Draw applies random modifiers that will benefit one team more than the other, like spawning extra Supreme Time minions for faster XP, which could be beneficial for characters like Goku and Trunks who want to transform faster, or just causing enemies to explode on death and scattering their team, which would be good for characters like Piccolo and Bojack who like to isolate the targets. This adds a whole new layer of strategy and adaptation on the fly. However, if Divine Cards happen during character selection, it lets you build a team composition around the modifiers, making team synergy even deeper and more important. The possibilities here are endless and promise to keep the game feeling fresh every match as they change or add new ones. The second mechanic, which is Gekishin Burst, which we know even less about, looks like a potential way to take down Gods of Destruction without relying on Zeno. This could open up entirely new strategies like backdoor plays that catch the enemy off guard and shift the momentum in your favor in ways that the enemy would not expect. Because this mechanic could be a massive game changer, I highly recommend tune into the upcoming stream where we're going to be taking a look at Gekishin Burst in-game in detail and sharing my live thoughts as we use it for the first time. So don't miss it. This could be one of the most exciting developments in Gekishin Squadra games. And that's a wrap on this comprehensive Gekishin Squadra guide from a rank 1 player's perspective. Whether you're jumping into the network test fresh or grinding your way to the ranks, these tips and insights should give you a serious edge compared to everybody else. If you find this guide helpful, don't forget to smash that like button, subscribe for more high-level content, and hit the bell so you never miss an update. Also, make sure again to join the 24-hour stream when the network test drops in 1 day from now, where I'll be breaking down the latest meta, Divine Cards, new mechanics, answering your questions live, testing out all the new characters, and just overall having a blast doing freaking. We're going to be playing with fans, we're going to be playing with the homies, we're just going to be having a jolly good time. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you on the battlefield.